Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Hold on to the edge of your seats because you are in for quite the ride. It's time for the Granada Forum Radio Show. Right now, live on air with your host, Granada, Wendy.
Sideways of the Anti-Defamation League boys over there. He said all kinds of problems.
That's just hilarious. I can step in and say,
did it happen again?
When you hear the rebroadcast, you will laugh. You went into you didn't go chipmunk mode like you did last week. You just went into it and then.
You're a bot.
Oh, well, you
just got rebooted, man.
I did. I literally had to unplug and reset all of my audio devices here. It was very bizarre what just occurred, and I didn't move or touch anything. It just all of a sudden went haywire.
Yeah, it sounded hilarious. We're trying to get we're yelling over the top of you to have you cut off. We admit to you, Alex, it's a conspiracy.
I don't know how. I mean, gosh.
This is definitely the story behind the story highlight.
Murdoch is he's already got a plan what is going to happen. I don't know if you want to...
at least we're staying true to form. It's not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
Well,
I'd like to ask all the folks that are doing the simulcast right now to possibly cut what you can off of the last 5 minutes of conversation. Let's go ahead and throw that out to the writers and get a piece on Alex AI.
Alex AI red
foot bot. About a half hour, and you're gonna have a story there.
Not to be confused with Google's Alexa.
Alex AI bot. I mean, it was the first thing Murdoch said was, "I knew it. He's a bot. He's a robot. He's not you." Oh my!
Max Headroom, eat your heart out.
Oh, we gotta. It's not funny. I'm gonna start coughing. It was just too funny. I'm glad it was and not.
So yeah, the point I was trying to make though is that it seemed to me that Trey Parker foresaw the same sort of things being expressed in the book, scripted it into the show South Park live while it was happening, while the election was occurring, and the similarities between that and what we're talking about right now are just far too close for me to disregard them any other way.
You're right. You're right on point with that. And I don't watch South Park. I got better things to do. But
one would hope.
I would hope so. I mean, I went and saw the Book of Mormon play when Broadway came to Utah. Went and watched that, and I thought it was funny for a little while. But when they started really attacking Jesus and that, I said, I'm sorry. That was kind of offensive.
I didn't see that play, and having heard that, I'm almost glad I didn't.
Yeah, it was over the top. It degenerated in some pretty debased stuff. But anyway, be that as it may, the point is this expose by Wolf, if true, and I have no reason to doubt that it's not true, is pretty doggone amazing. Let me go in and quote exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, this is about a quarter way through, and he's explaining what's going on immediately after the election results were finalized. Okay, and he goes back in time a little bit because Mr. Wolf is watching this thing. He's somehow been allowed to document this with interviews and pictures, et cetera, et cetera. He writes, quote, "As his campaign came to an end, Trump himself was sanguine. His ultimate goal, after all, had never been to win. Quote, I can be the most famous man in the world, he had told his aide, Sam Nunberg, at the outset of the race. See, this is what he's doing. He wants to be more famous, the most famous. Talk about narcissist, okay, egocentric. Quote, his longtime friend, Roger Ailes, the former head of Fox News, liked to say that if you want a career in television, first run for president. Now Trump, encouraged by Ailes, was looking at floating rumors about a Trump network. His was a great future. He could come out of this campaign, Trump assured Ailes, with a far more powerful brand and untold opportunities. Quote, this is bigger than I ever dreamed of, he told Ailes a week before the election. I don't think about losing because it isn't losing. We've totally won. From the start, the leitmotif for Trump about his own campaign was exactly how crappy it was. And how everybody.
True. I mean, that's if you read, that's his line of thinking. That's how the man thinks. It really is a Sun Tzu. No battle is to be fought unless it's won. So yeah. He really is that way. And I really do have to kind of like edge in a sec on this. No matter the motives, no matter, I mean, really, and I completely am absorbing everything that you're saying. But for a lot of people, real world stuff, the man is a good president. I mean, for them, for their 401ks, for jobs, and that's stuff you just can't ignore. I mean, you can't just ignore that. I know I'm kind of stepping into the den here, but I think that there might be the possibility that the man actually does, for his own reasons, really does want to keep his word. And he doesn't want to lose. And and that mentality would mean he makes good on his promises. So, I mean, money's not the motive, and I don't think he's a pedophile. So, economists are scratching their head right now and saying, man, one guy comes in and take a look at just by cutting regulations and taxes and having people believe in what he says, just by saying he's going to enforce the border, you really don't even have to have a wall. The illegal immigration has gone way down just by the idea of it. So you do have to give the guy credit for some of this stuff. That there's
I absolutely concur, and that's what I wanted to get into with this whole piece. Because see what we see morphing in here. We see people like Utah Senator Hatch, right? When it first started, Hatch was on the same bandwagon as Mitt Romney. If you remember Romney coming out and flat out, they almost went into a war, Here's
Mitt Romney, who just changed his address on Twitter to a Utah address.
Exactly. So
Romney is McCain 2.0.
Yeah, Romney comes in when he's running for president against Obama. He courts Trump's. He wants Trump's endorsement in the worst way. He does everything possible to get Trump to endorse him. And now look at what he's doing. Just saying he's this and that and this and this and that. And Hatch is right along with him, and all the Utah delegation really was against him. In fact, on his inauguration, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir was almost in mutiny, not wanting to go sing for him. Okay, so what's happened in a year? We have Hatch turning into the biggest cheerleader ever. I mean, he's saying such things here in the Utah newspapers as, well, this could very well be the best president ever, even greater than Lincoln or Washington, for heaven's sakes. This is, what's caused this incredible swing. Okay, we're going to get into that because that's an important part of it. And you're very right. Just because things are going good in the stock market, the stock market topped 25,000 because of all of the happiness about the tax bill, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is I'll give him this. He is making good on his promises. Number one, he says, day one, first executive order is going to be, we're going to recognize Jerusalem. Now, let's follow this through. Let's go on with the rest of Wolf's excerpt here. He says, okay, in August, when he was trailing Hillary Clinton by more than 12 points, he couldn't conjure even a far-fetched scenario for achieving an electoral victory. He was baffled. Now, Trump, was baffled when the right-wing billionaire Robert Mercer, a Ted Cruz backer whom Trump barely knew, came in and offered him an infusion of $5 million. When Mercer and his daughter Rebecca presented their plan to take over the campaign and install their lieutenant Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway, Trump didn't resist. He let him do it. He only expressed vast incomprehension about why anyone would want to do that. Quote, this thing, he told the Mercers face-to-face, is so effed up. You can use what I deleted it, okay? It's the F word. Bannon, who became chief executive at Trump's team in mid-August, now this is factual, right? We can go back and look at the history, called it, quote, the broke dick campaign, end quote. Almost immediately Bannon saw that it was hampered by an even deeper structural flaw. The candidate himself, who billed himself as a billionaire 10 times over, refused to invest his own money in it. Bannon told Jared Kushner's son-in-law, that after the first debate in September, they would need another $50 million to cover expenses until Election Day. Here's what Kushner said, quote, no way we'll get $50 million unless we can guarantee him victory, said a clear-eyed Kushner. How about $25 million, prodded Bannon. If we can say victory is more than likely. In the end, the best Trump would do is to loan the campaign $10 million, provided he got it back as soon as they could raise other money. Steve Mnuchin, the campaign's finance chairman, came to Trump to collect the loan with wire instructions ready to go so Trump couldn't conveniently forget to send the money. Now, most presidential candidates spend their entire careers, if not their lives, from adolescence preparing for this role. They rise up the ladder of elected offices, perfect a public face, and prepare themselves to win and to govern. The Trump calculation, on the other hand, quite a conscious one, was much different. The candidate and his top lieutenants believed they could get all the benefits of almost becoming president without having to change their behavior or their worldview one whit. Almost everybody on the Trump team, in fact, came with the kind of messy conflicts bound to bite a president once he was in office. Michael Flynn, the retired general who served as Trump's opening act at campaign rallies, had been told by his friends that it had not been a good idea to take $45,000 from the Russians for a speech. Quote, well, it would only be a problem if we won, Flynn assured them. And is that not a true statement? Not only did Trump disregard the potential conflict of his own business deals and real estate holdings, he audaciously refused to release his tax returns. Why should he? Once he lost, Trump would be both insanely famous and a martyr to crooked Hillary. His daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared would be international celebrities. Steve Bannon would become the de facto head of the Tea Party movement. Oh, yeah. Kellyanne Conway would be a cable news star. And Melania Trump, who had been assured by her husband that he would not become president, could return to her inconspicuously lunching socialism, socialite. Losing would work out for everybody. Losing to them was winning. So shortly after 8 p.m. on election night, when the unexpected trend, Trump might actually win, seemed to be confirmed, Don Trump Jr., of course, told a friend that his father, or DJT as he calls him, looked pale as if he had seen a ghost. In fact, Melania was in tears, and not tears of joy. There was, in the space of little more than an hour, in Steve Bannon's not unassumed observation, a befuddled Trump morphing into a disbelieving Trump and then into a horrified Trump. But still to come was the final transformation. Suddenly, Donald Trump became a man who believed that he deserved to be and was wholly capable of being the President of the United States. Now, so we see that he morphed in a little over 2 hours to this incredible realization of what was going on and what happened. My point in all this and bringing this up, guys, is we can see what he's doing and what he's doing. He's driving the liberal crowd absolutely mad. That's true. He's got people like Orrin Hatch now. I mean, Orrin Hatch is like his choir boy. He's singing his praises. All these things are happening. The question is, what would make Trump so sure that he was losing? And why would on the other side, in the other camp, Hillary was so sure she was winning, she was ready to have this big bash at the Jacob Javits Center and bring the ceiling down, for heaven's sakes. Are the pollsters that far off? I mean, we're talking.
Yes, they are. We knew on Thursday. That Pennsylvania was going to fall, and we were using micropolls, and this was coming out of 8chan. And I was telling everyone, I was saying, hey, he's going to win. I was buying champagne, okay, because I have certain beliefs about Hillary Clinton, but they were wrong, and they gaslit themselves. They did, and so many people believed it. But the people who were really looking at the number of people that were voting and we were calculating the amount of fraud in every single county, every single swing state county.
Okay, hang on, guys. I'm going to get these guys to turn off
the perfectly legal to dissuade people from allowing voter fraud to occur. That was a big concern. That was the only thing that would have made the difference of him getting elected in Pennsylvania. And he won Pennsylvania, and the micropoll showed it Thursday. So how he didn't know that, how Hillary didn't know that, $1.3 million worth of fireworks or whatever it was. People just gaslit themselves on the whole deal. And that's because, I mean, we were...
Okay, guys, we are live. And thank you, Matt Painter, for turning off the simulcast. My apologies to the listeners. I totally missed the show. I was just preoccupied there, but the show has started.
Thank you, Rich. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Nick. Happy New Year, Rich. None of those things happen. I'd rather have something like that than anything happen to you. We were worried maybe you were snowed in and, living off of coffee and soup or something. But we're glad you're healthy and sane and safe, and that's all that matters. Welcome to the Granada Forum radio program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Revolution Radio. We do have a wonderful guest tonight. He's coming on at 8 o'clock. We're going to call Jordon Maxwell, and Mr. Maxwell's going to join us for 1 hour. But Nick, real quick, we're going to get right into things because we got a few minutes. Is there something that you wanted to talk about and to our listeners? And we'd like to thank also Matt Painter for helping us out and Chuad and Studio B. Nick? Hello?
Nick must be muted.
Nick muted?
Hold on, he's texting me. He says I can't hear anything.
Okay, John, are you there, handsome?
Yes, I am, beautiful.
Well, hey, go ahead, John. Did you want me to talk about something real quick?
Yes, I do. I don't know if I had a chance to mention this last year or not, but I've been working very hard on a proposal that I hope can reach the president regarding...
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
This
No,
is
I'm
regarding...
not muted. I'm not muted.
Yeah, I hear you, Nick. Just hold on one sec. We hear you.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear us. Okay.
Okay, Nick, can you hear me okay now? I mean, I want you to hear this as well as everyone else. I believe that if we don't make a proposal with North Korea, in all probability before 2018 is over, we will be having a thermonuclear war, which could result in many American casualties because we currently do not have a missile defense system which is operational due to the fact that early in Obama's first term as president, he scrapped the SDI program, the Strategic Defense Initiative program, and no further progress, to my knowledge, has been made unless President Trump has started up that program. So what I am proposing, I have to keep classified to a certain extent, but it is a proposal that I have studied for an extensive period of time, and I believe that it would be a program that Kim Jong-un would find too hard to refuse, but it would require the denuclearization of North Korea. But within 10 years, the economy of North Korea would improve to the extent that it would be, in all probability, comparable to that of South Korea. I can't get into the details because I need to reach the president or high-ranking officials in Washington first before divulging those details because they are rather crucial. But all I can say is it would not endanger, but rather it would enhance our nation's security. We would not be in any way backing down, but we would be able to basically convert North Korea into a buffer state so that it would no longer pose a threat to America or to our close allies in the Far East. And if anyone wants to contact me or get a little bit more information, although keep in mind I'm not going to reveal all of the details at this time, my email address is soundoffwithjohnwspring@outlook.com. Unfortunately, if we are unable to reach a deal such as this, in all probability, we will be facing a thermonuclear war, which we can win, but it will cost heavily in terms of millions of American lives because we do not have a system which can prevent most of Kim Jong-un's ICBMs from reaching well within targets inside the United States. I thank you, Wendy. I thank you, Nick. I thank you, Richard, and everyone else.
Could you repeat that address, the email address?
Yeah.
Okay. In essence, I am proposing an economic plan that would enable...
Yeah, no, I want the address. I want your Outlook.com. It's Sound Off.
Sound Off with John W. Spring at Outlook.com.
Okay.
Sound Off with John W. Spring. I know it's rather lengthy, but when I went on Outlook, they required a rather lengthy, detailed email address and an even longer code to go along with it. Or password. Yeah, password.
John, you can call me after the show. I got a good tip for you, but I won't say it on the air.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that. It's an interesting thing. Nick, you there? Nick?
He's still having issues.
Oh God, I'm sorry to hear that. Bob, what's one of the latest things that you have interest in?
Well, actually, of course, George Webb.
Absolutely.
As you know, the Iwan, I think Iwan has been given a couple of months reprieve to answer. It's now March. It's been delayed to March 8th.
I'm here.
It's kind of frustrating. Are you there, Nick?
Nick?
We had Nick for a second. We heard him, but I guess he probably still can't hear us.
Bob, can you go over that again? Are we talking about a person or a place? I didn't quite get the noun.
What, George Webb? I was talking about the George Webb's legal case that he's got 3 legal suits going on. One against the DNC, one against Podesta, one against the Iwan brothers. And he is really, connecting the dots on stuff that happened in 2015, I guess March 8th through March 12th, where at the Obama White House in the Situation Room at 9:45 p.m., they called several people. I guess this was after Eric Braverman disappeared, and they figured they were going to go after Seth Rich. Oh, I don't know at all. It's so interesting, and I didn't keep score. I got to admit it, and I don't have a brain that has the capacity to incorporate everything that he's talking about, all the different players. It's amazing, so detailed. But it comes down to, it's the Iwan brothers set up a Pakistani spy ring in Congress 14, 15 years ago. And all this email and everything with the Clinton emails, it's all was achieved by the Iwan brothers and their staff. What did they call it? What did Podesta? Somebody called it the trusted staff. They had 150 BlackBerries that were given to congressmen, and everything was spied. They knew everything that was going on. And talking about treason, and it's like they're free. They're roaming free. And then we have a Jeff Sessions, an attorney general, that's now going after marijuana. And it's like, I thought we were past that, and people are just moving on, paying their taxes with it, and, trying to utilize their medicine of choice without offending anybody. But no, he wants to get the feds involved again. It's a complete distraction. Now, Tracy Beans, she is very, very good. She played Jeff Sessions when he was under testimony. I forgot who was doing it. But he is really covering things up, and you could tell by the way he stalled and by the way he got a couple of points across, the way he was looking at his questionnaire, the person questioning him. He is really evil. This is no goddamn good, and I can't believe that the President of the United States is not smarter than that and can't just get rid of him. I do not know why.
Yeah,
I need comments on that.
Well, Sessions is, look, this is my thing. Either Sessions and the President and the State Department and the Justice Department are with the 400 and sealed indictments that they're ready to go forward.
4,000.
Or yeah, right, 4,000. Or this, or the bottom line is, if he's just willing to just do marijuana, Trump's in big trouble then, because if these people are not if they're not prosecuted, what's really going to happen is not only just that they're going to go after Trump, but then once Trump is out of office, whether it's 4 years from now or hopefully it's 8, but when he does leave as the president, that they will come after us with vengeance. And with America, they're going to come after America with vengeance. And so this is this is a deep problem.
Now, here's what's happening with these people that are following airplanes. Apparently, when there's some high-level elite that are flying, the planes are being turned around, and apparently the targets are being arrested. And we also know there's a lot of planes going to Guantanamo. Perhaps they're getting Guantanamo ready for all the bad people, all the pedophiliacs and all the elite that have abused their power and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I want to see Hillary Clinton in that orange suit with that dog.
Yeah, well, Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, good, great. I'm glad. I don't know how much have you heard with
I didn't
Bob.
get to hear hardly any of it because Skype has got completely screwy on my computer. So I just got everything. I just got everything straightened out just now. So now I'm ready to go, and it's only an hour into the show.
Okay, yeah, well, we're going to have Jordan in.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely been crazy for us. Well, he talked about Jeff Sessions, about if Sessions gonna go after the deep state.
No.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not. He hasn't done anything. You know what his big thing was? With all the things that are going on right now with the Clinton emails, Mueller's investigation, with what's going on with the Iwan brothers and, that whole issue that George Webb has taken on. What's Jeff Sessions decide to go after? Legalized pot. I mean, come on. I mean, that guy is completely worthless. And I keep hearing people say that, this might be just some big backhanded plan between Sessions and Trump to lure people in. It's like, I don't believe it. He never went after anybody when he was in the Senate either. He would grill them. He would ask them pretty good, tough questions during the hearings and everything. But when it actually came to taking action, he didn't do anything. So no, I don't think he's going after anybody.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a mind boggler. And there's 400 or 4,000 sealed indictments right now.
4,000.
Yeah.
4,000. I mean, that's huge.
No, and Nick, I don't know if I heard this from a couple of different sources on the net that there's been many planes that have mysteriously turned around because they realize there is a important VIP who they may be, hopefully, that it's a way of draining the swamp by turning the plane around and then arresting those people right there. So I'm waiting to hear reports. I'm waiting to hear reports.
At this point, I'll believe it when I see it. Until it actually happens, I'm not buying any of it.
Okay, now one thing I
was thinking.
One thing
ahead,
I do want to add very quickly. It was announced on the news tonight that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is investigating the Clinton Foundation again. Are you folks aware of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And John, did you also know that, I think it was yesterday, that they found out that, what's her name? Huma Abedin, whatever her name is?
Huma Abedin.
Huma? Yeah, Huma gave out all these this national security passports over Yahoo.
Oh, passwords. Yeah, the security passwords. And it allowed the...
I mean, it's like, supposedly, if you work for the government or the military, that's like 5 years in prison automatic, John. Yeah. That's like an automatic. They don't even care.
Yeah. Well, she should be on her way to Leavenworth along with Hillary.
Yeah.
Or cellmate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hear that Comey. They also didn't they find out this week that Comey that he listed all the things that Hillary did, and even more so that they didn't even mention that. But he mentioned certain things, but there was a lot more that he didn't actually even touch, and he knew about.
Yeah, there was a memo that was the original memo was released that shows really Hillary was guilty, but then it was edited to make it.
Oh yeah.
Looking bad, but not treason.
Yeah, they admitted that it was all edited.
Hey guys, we're gonna take our first break, and then we'll be right back. We'll call Jordan, have some fun with him. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for your patience for the new year. This is the Granada Forum radio program. This is Revolution Radio. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Well, welcome back to the Granada Forum radio program, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Revolution Radio. We are the #1 commercial-free, listener-supported internet talk radio station in the world. If you'd like to go to the homepage and leave equivalent to a cup of coffee, we appreciate it. If you'd like to go to Nighthawk's, donate $100. He'll give you like 35,000 seeds on how to grow, plant, store, and everything under the sun. So we'd like to thank Mr. Nighthawk for that one. Thank you, Mr. Nighthawk. We are back. We're sorry we had a little technical difficulty. Sometimes that happens after the new year. We'll render all that later, but we are grateful for your listener support and for being with us. Our guest, Jordon Maxwell, we're going to call. But did you guys wanted to finish up real quick before we bring on Jordan, if someone wanted to say something about what was going on?
In which part?
Anything.
No, I mean, what isn't there to say? I mean, they've been digging up so much dirt on everything at this point. And just by the way, there was that convenient fire at Hillary and Bill's house that destroyed a whole bunch of servers last week.
A convenient little fire.
Yeah.
They didn't even tweet.
No.
Today that our house. We're very sorry. We lost stuff. Send us money. We need it. I mean, they didn't even do anything like that. They're in high. They're getting ready to run.
It was like when George Webb found all those broken BlackBerries and cell phones and whatever in the back of that apartment building that the A1's owned. Suddenly, I guess they figured, wait a minute, they're investigating us again. Whoops, sorry, we just happened to have a small fire that just happened to have all of our computer servers and hard drives in it.
No, it's not the computer. It was files. It was paper files.
Oh, I thought I saw
accumulated before everything went to
it wasn't
digital.
It wasn't just paper files, because I saw photographs of the burn, and there were computer drives in there too.
Jeez.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so they cooked a lot of stuff in that room.
Oh my God!
Yeah, they gotta cook her. They just gotta cook her and be done. Cook her with the boiling frog.
It's amazing how much crime they're doing.
Yeah, and getting away with it too, because nobody.
And getting away with it. Yeah. By the way, we want to mention George Webb and Jason Goodman.
But the worst part is the citizenry of the United States are so mesmerized and hypnotized with consumerism, and
they're passive right now.
And Hollywood, it's it's crazy.
I swear to God, if back in the day when the country was first formed, you're going through the late 1700s and then through the 1800s or whatever. If some of these politicians had pulled the kind of crap back then that Hillary was doing now, they would have been tarred and feathered and dragged down the street. If not outright just shot.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, it probably would. Yeah. I do want to thank. Go ahead, John.
By the way, this last fall, there was an FBI investigator that was investigating something related to the Clinton Foundation or Hillary, and he and his wife were murdered in their home, and then their home was burnt down, and everything.
Oh my God!
Everything about that situation was covered up. They tried to call it a quackery report or a hoax report.
Right.
Just to the contrary of what Sandy Hook actually was. But it's really strange. His wife was a member of a ceramic club based in Washington that only used firewood to fire their kilns. It was a very unique situation. These people did exist, but the way they took care of the story, they tried to cover up even the existence of these people. It's just beyond belief. But I probed into it for quite some time, and I came to the conclusion that this murder of this couple did occur. They were both professional people, and nothing was ever done to do an investigation, but to cover it up to the point whereby these people were basically person non grata, as if they had never been on this planet.
Well, yeah. They don't want any evidence trailing behind them, and the problem is that the Clintons have left such a huge trail behind them. I mean, they're not as smart as they think they are.
Right,
but
it's the bodies keep mounting.
But a lot of bodies.
That's the whole thing with them. They have no problem whatsoever taking somebody out to cover their trail, at all. You know, just like the mob used to do. Even if you were a witness to a murder and the mob knew about it, they were coming after you. Okay, they didn't want to leave any witnesses behind, and that's the way the Clintons operate, and they have for years.
Okay, let me just say I want to thank George Webb and Jason Goodman for crowdsourcethetruth.com. I'll go to George Webb, and then there's also Quinn Michaels. And we'll get Jordan on right now and have some fun with him. So I want to thank you guys for all that information, because it's incredible and important. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's when Skype's working and we can actually get it out.
Right, exactly. Rich, if you're listening, call Jordan for me.
Will do.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Calling Jordan.
Hello.
Hello, handsome. Happy New Year. This is Revolution Radio, Granada Forum. I just wanted to say hello.
Well, okay. Since you said hello, you might as well stick around for a little bit.
I was wondering. Not much. We were wondering what you find interesting in the news, or what would you like to talk about, Jordan?
Well, I find the fact that I'm still here very interesting.
Well, you did miss the first.
There's nothing on the news that's of interest to me. Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. No.
Okay.
It's all lunacy and hogwash, and it's the thinking of our enemies, because the news media are the enemies of America. I was just thinking about that today, that with Hillary Clinton holding up banks and jumping off of roofs and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and breaking the law every time she breathes a breath of life, she breaks the law doing something. She's a criminal, and Obama's a criminal and mentally deranged, and all of the other mentally handicapped lunacy that's going on in government, and yet the press, the newspapers, and magazines, and television don't tell you anything. So why is that? Well, it occurs to me that the enemies of America is the news media, because they see all the criminality and the treason, the lies and murder and bloodletting and shedding of blood and murdering people. They see all of that, but they're not about to tell you anything about it, nothing. and they'll just laugh it off and and act like it didn't happen. And so for years and years, the media has been laughing things off and poo-pooing it, and there's nothing to it. And so I'm of the opinion that the news media is the enemy of America because they want America destroyed. They don't want to tell you how to fix America and how to fix anything in our country. They don't want to tell you about anything good that could happen in America. They're happy to tell you nothing about nothing, period. And so therefore, the news media, the news outlets, newspapers, magazines, etc., are, in point of fact, the major media, news medias of America are the enemy of the republic and should be arrested, put in prison, put in jail, and put out of business. So, but that's the facts of the matter. That's the facts of life. That the news media today is the enemy of the American people, period. And we still listen to them. We still turn on the nightly news to watch these treasonous traitors, criminals, giving us all kinds of important news, like who won the basketball game and Paris Hilton and all that nonsense. But they will never tell you anything about what your government is really doing. So that tells me that we are in the grips of criminal, fascist, murdering, bloodletting criminals and traitors in the news media, ABC, NBC, all of it is nothing more than criminality. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, there is the real criminal attacking America. There
Jordan,
are the real criminals.
Jordan,
yes.
how am I supposed to make it through my day if I didn't know what Kim Kardashian was wearing this morning?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's true, because that would be a difficulty, but I try and do it and try and live through it. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, they ought to all be hung. They ought to be hung, taken out to a tree and hanged so that the rest of the world can see that America is no longer going to be bullshitted. No longer. It's not going to happen anymore.
Right.
And so that's what is deserving of treason. If you're a traitor and you turn on your country and you're guilty of high crimes and treason, used to be they would take you out to a tree and hang you. That's what you get for turning on your country and helping your enemy, helping the enemy of your country. And so that's what the news media is. They're traitors, and they deserve what traitors get. Whatever the traitor is supposed to get, that's what the LA Times, New York Times, and Time Magazine and all the rest of them, all the leaders of the media in America should be put in prison and probably hung for treason against the country of America.
Yeah, and it's not even that they're it's not even that they're giving you useless news like every other story is a celebrity, whatever.
Yeah.
Type of thing, but it's the fact that they're actually making stuff up now, and they're not even hiding it. They'll take a news story and they'll spin it, or they'll just outright lie, and then blame anybody who doesn't believe them. All of a sudden, it's like, how dare you impugn the integrity of the press?
Yeah, you're right. And so all of that I consider, because they are the news media that supposedly give the people of the country the news to help the American citizens know, what to do and what's going on. They purposely have not, since as far back as I think 1950, 60 or 70 years ago, they stopped talking to America and telling us anything. And I remember as a kid, from 50 to 55, I became very interested in listening to news. And there was some little bit at that time, 1955, there were a little bit of interesting news would come on some of the networks. Of course, the smaller stations on television and radio, they wouldn't know anything. They never know anything about nothing. But the bigger network stations once in a while would tell you something about what the CIA is really doing, and what the government is really spending the money on, and not what you thought it was. And so there were a few little programs like that back in the 50s, but right around 1960 and the coming of the assassination of Kennedy, after that, all news in America in any way, shape, or form was put under arrest. No longer could anyone find out what's going on. There is no news, nothing to talk about. And so now, Walter Cronkite says, so now what we have on every night is action news. Tune in to Channel 7 Action News. If you want to see some bloodsheds and cars blowing up or people shooting each other, it's action news. They don't give a damn to tell you what's really going on with the Federal Reserve, or who's really actually running the government, or who Obama actually, in point of fact, really is. But they'll show you some blood in the streets, some shootings, or some killings or something, and give you action news.
That's the mantra that the news people have now, which is, if it bleeds, it leads.
I like that. It bleeds, it leads. That's true.
Isn't it also true, Jordon, that during Hitler's time that they called the media the fifth column or the fourth column?
Yeah, the fifth column, right. And the fifth column was always, fifth column was the news media. Even in America, it was considered to be the fifth column, because it takes four columns to hold up a square. It takes four columns to hold up a building or a roof. From each end of a house, four corners, and so it's four columns to hold up the roof and hold up the building. But a fifth column of government was the news media, television and radio, and boy were they corrupt. A long time ago they were corrupt, and so not only do I not have any respect for news in this country, or any of the news organizations like Los Angeles Press Club, of which I've been a member for some 25 years. But the press clubs, the Washington, D.C. Press Corps, I have no respect for any of that, none of it, because it's all a show. It's all theater. And everybody knows when you go in and you know what questions you can ask, and which questions are given to you that you can ask. And it's all pre-recorded, it's all decided before you go in. And if you ask something you're not supposed to, you end up dead in America. We have many cases of news people who ask the wrong question. And I can give you examples. And then a couple of weeks later, they're found dead in their apartment with their throat cut. And they committed suicide. Yeah, exactly.
Suicide by two gunshots to the back of the head.
Yeah, three of them, three gunshots in the back of the head. Yeah, and it was a terrible suicide. So I know that in this country, in America, if you are a real journalist, you need to watch your back, because you may be dead any day now. So if you know something you're not supposed to know, you better keep your mouth shut and please play dumb and pick up your paycheck, but don't open your mouth, because if you do, you're a dead man. So I know what's going on. I know what's going on in this country.
Yeah, look what happened with Gary Webb back in the 90s. They didn't even take him out right away. They had to destroy his character first. Make him look like an idiot, so then they covered themselves, and then they took him out afterwards.
Yep. And if they'll kill the president of the United States in front of the whole world, you know they don't have any respect for the country. And so I'm just amazed how much we humans put up with. And but now, because we have continually turned our back and not want to fool with it and just don't even bother to worry about it, now look at the country and the condition we're in today. we're in our very last days. We're falling apart now, and we're in the last final days of the American empire. It's going down and going quickly. It's because, if you don't care about something, well, leave it alone, and it'll die by itself. And so since you don't care, Americans don't care about government, then we don't have one. So I'm just ashamed and appalled.
Well, the thing that's I don't know a lot of them if they don't care about it. A lot of them don't know anything about it. They're not taught it in the schools where they're supposed to be learning all this stuff. And you can go out and talk to people out on the street, out on the boardwalks here in Los Angeles or in downtown cities anywhere, and start asking them questions about what do they think about their government and which branches, and little more detailed questions, and they have no idea about any of it.
Well, no, you're correct. Have you ever seen those little short video presentations on the web? Americans are something. Americans are stupid, or stupid Americans. Yeah. And it shows them going from Los Angeles on the beach and asking people what they think about all kinds of things, and the people have no idea in the world what they're talking about.
Right.
The one guy was asking some kids on the beach in L.A., some young people on the beach, what did they think about Jesus going to jail for shooting the Pope? And they all stood there and scratched their head and tried to figure out why would Jesus shoot the Pope.
That's
yeah,
funny.
And they actually was trying to figure out what to say on something so ludicrous.
Right.
They
got the guy, Mark Dice, who I'm a pretty big fan of, who does these videos all the time down in San Diego. And he goes out onto a pier down there to get people to sign a petition to stop people from signing a petition on the pier. And they would sign it. They wouldn't even think about it.
I love that. That is funny. That's hilarious. And I've seen him do that kind of thing many, many times. I love watching him, but it really does tell the world something about America, who we are, and where we've come from and where we're going.
Okay, I got a question out of the chat room from Olive. He wants to know what's your opinion of Trump, and do you think he's telling the truth?
I don't really have an opinion as such about Trump, because as I said to start off with, I'm not really interested in the matters of today at all. I couldn't care less about the situation in America and the world today. I understand it so well. I've been talking about this for 58 years, so it's old hat to me. So when I see the stuff happening today, I just breathe a sigh of relief. I was talking about this back in 1959, 60, and 61. So as of today, I don't give a damn one way or the other. I don't care. I mean, I've been talking about this for for 58 years. So I don't really have an opinion anymore. As far as I'm concerned, it's all very obvious. And if you don't know what's going on by now, then maybe you're not supposed to. But I will say one thing about Trump that I do find of interest, and that is he's the first president since I have been born. I grew up with all the different presidents from 1940 on, and he's the first president since 1940, in my opinion, that actually talks to people. He actually talks to us, and there's not this plastic Hollywood script writers. The presidents have script writers. Well, so do actors in Hollywood. They have script writers, and so the actors are being paid a lot of money to read the script exactly the way it was written. And so the actors are nothing more than actors or script writers, and so they have script writers. And so today, presidents all have script writers because they're just acting like they are the head of the country. They're acting like they are the president. It's just an acting job. And so if you're really good at it, like Ronald Reagan, well, then they pay you more, and you live a pretty easy life. misleading all the people of your nation, your country. But as far as Trump is the first president I have ever heard who actually talks to people and says something. While all the other presidents I have ever in my life heard, I've heard them all, they all are plastic. They're all the settlers in plastic. None of them say anything of any consequence whatsoever. None of them move me at all to hear presidents giving speeches. Their speeches are all script-writed, and they all say the same BS bullshit. And they all, everything is always in the future. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And the more they talk about what they're going to do, the worse the country becomes, until now today it's falling apart. So, but with Trump, he actually says things, and when I listen to him, I think, how the hell did he, where did he come from talking about the things he does and saying the things he does? He's actually talking like a human being, like you would talk to somebody on the street. He's actually just talking to you, telling you what's going on. That's the first time I've ever heard any president talk like him. So, thank God, at least we got somebody in there who's actually a breathing and alive, and isn't a character actor, So
yeah, we had decades since I've been on this planet, anyway, of all these pretty much cookie cutter politicians for president.
That's what I'm talking about.
And
that's right.
I worked in Los Angeles in the Times building on the 2000 presidential debates. They had the Republicans and the Democrats going. And if you stuck the candidates side by side, with the exception of one, which was Alan Keyes, you probably couldn't tell the difference between any of them.
Yeah, whether they were running for something or not running, or whether they were Democrats or Republicans. It doesn't matter. They all sound alike.
They all got the same script. I think they all use the same script writing program.
Script writers, yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh.
And so that's what I'm talking about. They all sound the same. They all look the same. And after listening to all the presidents for 60 years, none of them have said anything about anything. Nothing. They're not telling you nothing. And they just give those little flowery, lectures and speeches. And when it's all through, they didn't say anything just as well, because you wouldn't understand it if they had to tell you something. But with Trump, he actually talks to people, and he talks about things that presidents are not supposed to talk about. You're just supposed to go up there and grin and smile and wave and
kiss babies.
Be the politician, and kiss babies but actually talking to people about what's going on the world, that's unheard of. I mean, nobody does that anymore.
Well, I think that's
I concur with you 100%. I just have 1 year on you, and I would say that Trump is definitely the most intelligent president during my lifetime of 78 years. So
I think so. I would say that. That's what I would say. He's obviously very intelligent, and because he's built nothing but golf courses and hotels and casinos and restaurants and all kinds of things on the East Coast, from Canada down to Florida on the East Coast, that tells me he has had to be in business, building hotels and building large operations and business with the mafia. There's no doubt in my mind. You don't build hotels in Chicago and New York and New Jersey without the mafia. You don't do it. You either deal with the mob or you don't build nothing. And so, but he's been able to build and build and build and keep building, and and everybody that works for him and the mob that works with him, everything works. Everybody's happy. Everybody gets paid. So it tells me he knows how to handle himself with the mafia, with the mob, and with the organized crime. And since the United States government is the pinnacle of organized crime, he's about the only one that knows how to handle himself with organized crime.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the the mafia in Chicago and New York on the East Coast. At least they're not lying about it.
No,
the people in the government will take this this false offense if you actually call them criminals. They'll act all offended. It's just like, you face up to it. You're a criminal.
Yeah, and the mob in Chicago, they were proud of it. As a matter of fact, everybody pats them on the back and loves to see them, and they've got fans and people that love to come and see them.
Yeah, same thing in Vegas.
Yeah,
I love the mob in Vegas.
That's right. And so, but at least Trump has been able to make money on his own, because most of the people who are in government have never had a real job, and they've never had to work for anybody, which is good because they don't know how to do anything anyway. But
Bernie Sanders had a real job once. That he was a carpenter of sorts that he really wasn't any good at, and I think he lasted. I think he lasted a week.
Well, at least he tried. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. But most politicians have never held a job in their life. Politicians. Tom Anderson said many years ago, politicians are like cockroaches. It's not what they get and make off with. It's what they fall into and mess up. And so it's true. Politicians don't do anything of any value. They're just always there to make some money and to run for office and to do what they do, and that is talk, just that crazy talk, and everything just goes away. It's always gone, and the politicians do nothing about it because they can't. So at least Bush.
I was going to say my favorite saying about politicians, and I can't remember who said it, was some comedian, said politicians are like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reason.
That's exactly right.
Now, Red Skelton said years ago, old politicians never die. They just smell that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I say that unfortunately, so many people in the American public are like old Christmas tree lights. Half of them don't work, and the rest are not that bright. And today, we are now suffering as a country and as a people on the earth. The human race is now suffering, and now it's calling into question whether we are even going to be here anymore or not. I think we are calling into question the very veracity of the human race, if it's even worth saving, or if it's ever going to be able to get out from under the arrest warrant that's over us now. And so I just sit quietly and watch all of this stuff, knowing that I've been talking about it since 1960. So that's 58 years ago.
With all the research that you've done on it, I mean, you've got to see a pattern in all of this. I mean, this has to be pretty cyclical as far as a lot of this is going on. And I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about going back.
Oh, no.
Hundreds of years, thousands of years.
Thousands of years, thousands. And going back to the ancient empires of the world, to all the way back into India and the Hindu empires, and when they collapsed and fell, and for what reason. And then the Babylonians and the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans and God knows all the rest. They all fall because of the same reason. They work hard to get freedom, and once they've established themselves and they've got a certain amount of freedom, then they become prosperous because they're free to make money and do what they want to do, so they become prosperous. And then once you become prosperous, you begin to get fat and stupid and making mistakes, and you don't really care because you got plenty of money and everybody's wealthy anyway, until finally corruption comes in, and now stupidity and corruption begins to run the world business, and leave that alone for a while, and then pure old fascism comes into being with criminals who are legitimate, de jure, real card-carrying, gun-carrying criminals. And the people, that's why they keep pushing this idea of democracy. Democracy is pure communism. Marxist-Leninist communism, we call it democracy. Most people don't know that. They think democracy sounds like an American idea. No, democracy was dreamt up by the fascists to control the poor of the world, to control us. And so this is what democracy is all about. As a matter of fact, I've said this before, when there's a riot in Los Angeles and they're burning down buildings and turning cars over, and there's a massive criminal rebellion and a riot going on, we call it a demonstration. There was a big violent demonstration last night. Why do you call it a demonstration? Because that's what the word means in Greek. Demos means of the people. Demonstration means an outward sign of the people. And so demo gives us democratic or demonstration. So a true democracy is 35 whites hanging one black. That's true democracy. That is what democracy means. The majority rules. So if you could get everybody in town, or you get enough people in town to vote to kill somebody, then you can do it. Then you go out because you got 1,000 people with you. So you can go out and find somebody you don't like, and everybody agrees to it. So you can take that person and hang them and kill them in public. And that's a democracy. The people speaking. That's the people's idea. The people wanted it. And so that's the worst kind of government you can have on the earth, is a democracy, because that means the people rule. There are no constitutions and laws and regulations. The people rule. Democracy, which means if you run for office in America, and this is a democracy, when you get in and you become president or a senator or congressman, at that point, once you are elected, you are now a law unto yourself. You don't have to worry about what the federal laws say about you as a congressman or a senator, and what you can do and what you can't do, and what your powers are and what they're not. Because today, in a democracy, when you are elected, I am God, period. People wanted me, they elected me, I'll do whatever the damn I please, anytime I please. And and I'll make a lot of money and sell people and buy and sell children and run prostitution records, all kinds of things. I'll do whatever I damn well please, because the people elected me. And so they put their trust in me, and I can do whatever I want to do. There was a time, if you get elected in this country, you had to abide by all the rules and regulations, or you could be removed. Today, nobody's removed. Nobody's removed. If you're really corrupt and really bad, you can become president. You can become the head of the whole government. So, as far as I'm concerned, the U.S. government is in trouble, and I know what's coming. It's not going to be around much longer, so we need to enjoy it while we have what we have right now, because whatever's coming on this earth, you don't want to know. So, unfortunate, but that's the facts. That's the facts of the world, of the matter of the world in which we live. So,
well, what are we
that's
looking?
That's why, again, say it again.
I was just say, what are we looking forward to?
We're looking forward to. You've heard me say this before. A lot of people say, "Well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel," and I said, "Yes, the light at the end of the tunnel is a train coming." So, what we have to look forward to is educating ourselves and hoping and spiritually looking for some sort of a spiritual intervention in mankind's world, the physical world. That's what keeps me alive, is just picturing and hoping that something other than what is human impacts us in some way. I kind of hope that there is actually extraterrestrials here. At this point, it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. All I want to see is somebody who has the power to do something, period. because we humans just don't have the power to change anything. We don't have the power because we don't understand what's going on to start with. And if we did understand, we don't have the power to do anything about it because knowledge is power. We don't have any knowledge. We have no idea about how things work. And so that's a good question. What are we looking forward to, and what ultimately at the end of the day is going to happen to us in America? I don't know. I choose to believe, based on everything I've heard over the years, that there very well might be some sort of an intervention in our human affairs on the earth by something higher than we are, something far, far more seriously powerful than we are as humans. So, I don't know, Christians think of it as God intervening in mankind's affairs. I think of it as maybe some sort of an extraterrestrial presence on the earth that's going to change the way we live. Like you, I don't know. I just live from day to day like everyone else does. But I do know some kind of a change is going to happen, and it looks like it's happening now. So I don't know where it's going to go. I don't understand what what could happen that could help us, because the whole damn world is so corrupt now. The United States government is so corrupt through and through, and yet it was the best of any government on the earth at one time, and it became totally 100% corrupt. And there's only about 4 or 5 people that I have seen in federal government that appear to be honest and good people. So it doesn't say all congressmen and senators are bad, because there are obviously some that are very, very good people who are doing a lot of very important work to try and save this country. But there's only 4 or 5, maybe a dozen at the most, against the multiple millions of people in this country who don't know they don't know what's going on. They don't care.
Right.
So what I do, and what I've always tried to do, is just to wake up the people, to, generally speaking, awaken the public to the kind of problems they face. I just try and educate people to what the things that they don't know about, the things they've never heard about, and show them all of the strangeness of the world that we live in, and cause people to think and question, where did we come from? What are we doing right now? Where are we going as a human race? So that's what I've always tried to do, is just try and excite the people to question things and use their mind for the first time. That's why, and I've been able to do that a bit, and it's finally caught on now. It's true that there are a lot of people that are now questioning and reading and beginning to understand the problems we are now facing as a human race. So I did the best I could do, and I'm still trying to do it even today. So where is that?
Well, it seems like recently, within the last 10 years or so, at least, there's been a lot of upheaval, I would say, against the establishment, Republican or Democrat. We had a couple of grassroots movements that took place. We had a libertarian running twice, who basically opened up everybody's eyes and said, "Hey, look, this is what's really going on, and this is where we're screwing up." So a lot of people think it, I was really surprised as how fast it also petered out.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like how it's trying to keep that momentum going is almost. It's almost like you're walking into a tidal wave, trying to keep your momentum going. Especially when you got a whole bunch of the people who are supposed to be backing you who are dropping like flies, saying, "No, we don't want anything to do with it anymore."
Yeah, well, you're right. That's true, and it's very, very difficult to keep the momentum up. The only people who can do that is the CIA. They can do that. They can introduce into American society the drug culture. They can keep that going. and the hippie revolution in America. That was all CIA and NSA produced, and then the drug culture as that came slowly into, and then of course with the most successful political movement on the earth, period, is the Marxist communism. It's the most successful movement on earth, and the reason why is because it dominates the whole entire planet today, and the people have no idea in the world what it is or how it works, but they all fall in line with it. And so, as far as I'm concerned, it's the most successful political movement on the earth today is Marxist communism, because it's practiced all over America, all over Europe, and all over the rest of the world, and nobody even knows what it is. I mean, you can...
They really don't understand how it works.
No, not at all.
I tried to explain it to somebody when I did some research on it and started seeing how it really worked. I was like, okay. And I tried to explain it to somebody as, and it's probably a very oversimplistic way of explaining. I said, communism is actually probably the most extreme form of capitalism you're ever going to see, ever.
Oh, you got that right. That's exactly right. So. Yeah, you're right on target. The most extreme form of capitalism that can exist on the earth is communism, because communism is collecting up on the masses of the world to work under one roof. Everybody works for the state, and the state controls everything, and therefore that's why the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all the international bankers, the Illuminati bankers of the world today that are running the world, they're the ones that financed, organized, and helped found the Communist Party in the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet communists were starving in 1918, 1919, 1920, the international bankers in Germany, England, America, Australia, the big international bankers were pitching in huge sums of money and sending it to Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin and all the big corporations in America and Europe, from the automobile agencies, Ford and Chrysler and General Electric and General Motors, were building all of Nazi Germany, all the plants, all the truck plants in Russia today. The largest single truck plant on the earth today is in Russia. It's called the Kerma River Project. Kerma River Project is the single largest automotive truck plant on the earth, period. And I think it's somewhere like 25, 30 miles north of Moscow. And it's enormous. It's massive. And it's owned by General Motors and Ford Motor Company. And so General Motors and Chrysler and Ford Motor Company are building for Russia and for the Soviet Union, and now for Russia, building their half-tracks, their troop carriers, their tanks, their jeeps.
Could I interject one thing?
Yeah.
I think that's called the Kama River Project, and Fiat, believe it or not, has a tremendous interest there as well. And Fiat is controlled mainly by the Vatican.
Well, that makes me feel warm all over. Just knowing that. Yeah, that's nice. I feel much better about everything knowing that the Holy Father's involved in this crap too. No, you're right. I was just trying to remember that. That's a long time ago. Hold on. So anyway, so much for all that. And of course, the Vatican is involved in everything, period. I don't care what it is. Child trafficking, dope, government, terrorism. The Vatican is involved up to the neck with all of it. And what's the Vatican propaganda due? The propaganda due P2 Lodge in the Vatican are the people who are behind world terrorism, all the bombing and stations and bombing airports and all that. That's propaganda due. The P2 Lodge in the Vatican were operating around the world as terrorists. So if you want to talk about the terrorists, just go and arrest the Vatican and find out how much they've been financing, organizing, and directing all the terrorism in the world today. And why? So that the England, America, and the Western powers can come in and try and make things right. Once terrorism breaks out in the country, then America and England have to go in and settle everything down and protect everyone and try and bring peace to the region. And bring peace means they take over the country. America takes over another country, and now they've lost their sovereignty, they've lost their country. But at least it's peaceful now because most people are in jail. And the people who weren't peaceful, they're dead. And so that's the way it works, is that Vatican causes the problems, and then the Americans and the English have to go in and settle things down and put things back together again. But at the end result is that when America and England are through, you now have a fully communistic country, in which the Pope and the international bankers of Europe and America now control that populace. And little by little by little, they take over the world until now they finally have the entire world of mankind living under a Marxist-Leninist philosophy and their governments, and most people have no idea about it, have no idea in the world what they're doing and where the power comes from and who's behind all of this mess. So it's a hell of a story, and but the thing that bothers me is the fact that our news media, they're not telling us nothing. They never have, and they never will. And they wouldn't even be working at all if they started telling the people the truth. Right. So I just do the best I can, and thank God for people like Wendy and all the other people who have radio shows that are giving a voice to the people who know, so that people can wake up and begin to see what's going on.
Yeah, I was just, speaking of the media, I was just watching this documentary about David Crowley, who was going to make this movie called Gray State a few years back. And it was all anti-New World Order. This is what's going to happen if we keep going down this road. And he's showing the totalitarian state, and the RFID chips. Yep. And all the stuff that alternative media has been talking about for years. And he went to Hollywood because this thing had picked up so much underground steam. He got an offer. He went to Hollywood to talk to a couple of producers. They offered him $30 million to make the movie. And immediately after, this guy went on a downward spiral that was just unbelievable. It wound up with him killing his wife and kid and then himself. And I was watching this whole thing going, okay, that didn't happen by accident.
No.
They did not want this movie made. Somebody didn't want this movie made, and they took this guy.
Well, that's quite obvious, yeah. And obviously this whole idea of exposing these kind of truths to the world through motion pictures is not going to happen. I mean, they're not. Hollywood is too involved in all the dirty stuff that's going on in the world, and so to get anything out of Hollywood today, you might as well forget it. They're not about to tell you anything.
No, they're already pretty upset about what has been exposed.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what has happened in the past that was exposed. The last good movie that I saw that was really scary because it was so true was Eyes Wide Shut, when Stanley Kubrick made that movie. It was, and there are people who feel that a lot was left out, that the studios left a lot of that script out and didn't put it in. But even what they did leave in was good enough to at least tell you the way the world really works. Incidentally, that big party the big sex party that was in the movie Eyes Wide Shut was filmed at Baron de Rothschild's home in England. A lot of people didn't know that, but
I didn't know that either.
Gorgeous home, it was actually filmed in Rothschild's home. And, yeah. So
I can imagine then that scene was probably not something that was uncommon for that room either then.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and that's why he chose it, because he knew what's going on. He knows where it's going on. And so if you're going to film that movie and make it real, then you might as well go to the real place that happens. And so he filmed it at Rothschild's home in London. And it just has that look about it, too. You know, it has that real, incredible look to a demonic place where demonic people would live. And so anyway, that's where we are today. And that's one of the main reasons why I don't really worry about think about too much what's going on in the world today, because I know what's going on. I know where it came from. I know where we are now. And if it doesn't change, I know where we're going to be in about 30 years from now. So I'll just do what I do the best I can. And I've done the best I can in spite of all the things that have happened to me. And believe me, it's not fun doing what I do. But it's who I am, and that's what I do. So, but it's you're really looking for trouble when you start to expose the public to what's really going on, and a lot of people end up in prison or end up dead, or wiped out financially and totally destroyed. And so, but I just, like I said, I just do what I do and see where it goes.
All right, everybody. I think that's us for this week. Wendy, you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm just listening.
I think that's us for this week. So this is the Granada Forum. We're signing off.
I want to thank you, Jordon. Give out your website, JordonMaxwellShow.com.
Yep, JordonMaxwellShow.com.
Okay. Get his books and tapes, guys. It's fantastic.